doesn't have all the answers. Like the onus is on you, you know. And I think today's like episode is as important as it is with the change of what's the word I'm looking for? Mindset from the instructors for making it more open. It's more important that the mindset is changing for the students, like us, and regardless of belt, because the instructors were like deified and for so long, you expect them to have the answers. So now as students, it's better, just like a good university student or just a good student in general in school, is that you take the responsibility to do your homework. And what does that mean? It means to look at the instructions that you want, and concentrate on one thing, maybe two, but primarily just one thing.
Guillotines.
And then just guillotine.
Guillotines.
And then anything front headlock. But anyways,
front headlock guillotine.
You have to hammer it, right?
Yes,
obviously people. I'm trying to make that point here. What you should expect from as a learning environment, right?
Yeah, we're recording.
Yeah. Oh, we're recording right now?
Yeah, I started it.
Well,
we should leave this in.
We're recording?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm just gonna leave this in.
Okay, sure.
I'm kidding. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. Anyways, welcome to the Oldhammer Podcast, where life meets the mats. My name is Sam. As always, I'm here with Gordon. How you doing, mate?
I'm good. I'm good. Super good. So, what are we talking about today?
Well, we're a little snowed in here today, so we were thinking we'd talk about how our perception has changed over what the school of Jiu-Jitsu is really about, and how we can think about going to class. And I think what we were talking about, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that most people treat martial arts classes as sort of very prescriptive, like their prof, their sensei, their coach has the answers, has all the answers, and they go to it like they're in high school or elementary school, where the subject is going to be prescribed. You are going to learn that subject, and you are going to have to perform that subject in a test later on. Whereas really we've come to learn lately, well, not lately, but over our return, I would say, that Jiu-Jitsu is more like university. It's more like getting your university degree or your post-secondary degree. For anybody in the States, that's college, university. That's the same up here. And post-secondary just means if you do like a master's or something. So how do we treat Jiu-Jitsu as the learning environment that it should be, and not what I think most people think it is? Because the instructors are going to have a certain curriculum they're going to move through. They're going to show you the move of the week or the sequence of the week, but that's really just because they need to give you some value, I think, for you coming to class. But in a way, you want to actually treat this as more of university. Each one of those sequences is kind of like an elective, right? Which one is going to work for you? Are you going to major in economics, or are you going to major in physics, right? That's kind of the way I've been thinking about it lately. And I think we've been talking a little about on those lines. But what do you think? How is your...
First of all, what I think is that I can barely hear you because you keep cutting off. I don't know why. I got most of that, like 60%.
60% is enough, I guess. I don't know why I'm cutting off on your end, because you heard the...
I can hear you. I can hear you now.
Okay. I don't know. I'll just swallow the fucking mic.
Yeah, do it for the views.
For the views. On this episode of the Oldhammer Podcast, Sam swallows the mic. So cool.
Yeah, it's part of our own. It's part of our OnlyFans.
Yeah. Subscribe and like. We'll have
watch Sam swallow.
Watch Sam swallow Mike. I can't.
And other things. But anyways, just jokes.
just jokes, everybody.
But what was the question again?
How is your perception of going to Jiu-Jitsu class and of your coach and learning from your coach changed? And how it's evolved, and what do you think it really should be for those getting into Jiu-Jitsu, or even those who have been in Jiu-Jitsu for quite a while?
Yeah. Well, we went to the same, school for started jiu-jitsu, and it was really. And I think people who have done jiu-jitsu for a while, even some places that are still like this, like you kind of deify your instructor, your coach or professor, whatever you want to call them. Especially if they come from Brazil, and you're just like, oh my god, like this is the man. Like
Or Japan.
we're going to learn the. No, it's the man. The man.
No, I
Like
meant
99.9.
if they come from Japan,
Like,
if they come from Brazil or Japan, you're probably gonna deify them a little.
yeah, for sure.
They are the man.
Yeah, but just in general, like the culture was really different. Like it's almost like a cult mentality, and there's been tons, not tons, but there's been a fair like Jiu-Jitsu has had its fair share of like cult-like scandal. Like I'm not sure if you've heard of like Lori Irvin, even Don Danaher is like there's some. Greg Jones has alluded that there's like a cult-like thing with Danaher, but like it's all speculation. Don't sue me.
Well, I mean,
But you kind of deify your coach. That's what I'm trying to say.
Just on the Danaher thing, with any highly successful coach, there's going to be some of that cult-like talk. Whether it's true or not, it depends. But like you can even look at Customato and Tyson. Like Tyson thought Customato was just that was his dad essentially, right? And that can be. And when you're thinking about large groups of people learning martial arts, that can happen. It actually happened in yoga. Some dude got like
happened to it
in yoga. There was a yoga scandal.
Oh yeah. Like all the first yoga shit.
Yeah, it was like touching ladies and being all and fucking
for sure.
I mean, that's a little too far, but like that can happen with anybody who seems to put on this persona of knowledge and power and having the answers.
For sure.
And that can obviously can create ripples for the people who are supposed to be on their level, and other people are being idolized, and maybe there's some jealousy, maybe there isn't. Like that's just being human. But
when you're like seeking knowledge, especially in the martial arts or anything like mystical, I guess like yoga, you kind of like expect the person you learn from to be wise and like a master Wu Gui Kung Fu Panda. That's what you expect, Teach me the secret of the Dragon Lord Master, like that kind of thing. Or what is in the power of your chi? Like that's what you kind of expect. Like, and there's different degrees of it. Like some people like they can smell through that bullshit and they just don't get caught up in that. But like when you're a young, impressionable, like a man like me, like how we were when we started jiu-jitsu. I was like 20, I think, and I just saw my instructor as like somebody to really look up to, and he is, but like I think like when you put like that person on a pedestal, and then you feel like whatever they say goes. Like they're way older than you. They're like 30, 40 years experience. They are like a pillar of the jiu-jitsu community, and like who are you with your no strike white belt to question that? You're like, okay, you do it, and wherever what I'm trying to get is like you can't really question the techniques, and the techniques were great. Even to this day, the standards are great, but the way you learn is like you're shown the traditional 1, 2, 3 moves, and then you roll hard. You drill it, and then you roll to the death. Like it's like the mundials in training. And then you can ask questions. For at least for us, I don't know other schools, but we were allowed to ask questions after technique. But it was kind of like you were nervous too. It's like you sometimes got the answer you were looking for, but you were like kind of mocked at the same time, and then it kind of made you feel like you hear like snickers from the higher belts, like okay. And what happens is that you be put into that move, right? So you like okay, I feel pressure. That's fantastic, but I really don't know what the hell is happening around me as I'm being.
I understand.
The move is applied.
I understand the consequences, but I'm not sure how to apply them. Yeah,
like physically, I know this sucks.
I was having just how things have changed too, and I was having this discussion with my coach and one other of the guys there. It's like even how you do a rear naked choke now. It's like it used to be. Well, you just arm around, hand on bicep, hand behind the head. Didn't matter. Obviously, there's one way is stronger than the other, but like that's the way you did it. Well, now it's more of like you slide that arm in, and then you slide the other arm in behind, right? And it creates less opportunity for a counter. But like the the little nuances that you wanted to know about these things weren't necessarily something you didn't know enough to ask about because you didn't know enough. Two, you also kind of didn't want to ask.
Yeah, for sure. Like,
because that's kind of the difference. I think I was talking about a little bit about like treating jiu-jitsu nowadays as more of a university course versus say in high school. Like if high school you're learning math, are you really gonna like stick up your hand and be like, well, I think 2 + 2 is 5 because of this whatever, right? Or obviously I think longer equations, like you don't really question your teacher. But like once you're in university and you're doing differential equations and some other weird shit, well, that's the time. It's time to ask questions. You know enough.
I think a good example, the university example, is like, and it's a great example because the best university students in general are the ones who are like they take the initiative to learn. But it's like when you question your prof in university, it's not like you're like usurping their authority. What you're trying to do is like asking, is there a different way to go about getting the answer? That's what you're asking, and that's what if you got a good prof, that's what it would be in university. But in today's jiu-jitsu like classes, it's like the reverse class. That's what that's what they call it. You can ask questions, and then you come from a different perspective, and the instructor has to kind of like, oh, okay, like they'll like try to see it from your point of view, and then they will adjust it the way they would do things and whatnot. And conceptually, it's easy to understand. We don't all learn the same.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you have to see it from a different point of view, not from just like that instructor's point of view. And I think that's been really like a big game changer. It's more relaxed. In a good school, there's still structure, but it's more open to interpretation. Like you don't have to. You got different equations to get to like the answer kind of thing now, rather than like, well, this is the way, do it the way I showed you, don't fuck about, and because this way is the perfect or near perfect way. Well, and you're like, oh fuck, okay, even though I got like super short legs, like I guess I'll slap on this triangle on this, and on my training partner who's also like 6'4",
yeah.
And then it's not helping.
Well, I've got
you're doing it wrong.
I have a good example of that from my structure. Like instructors, we were doing back takes, and he was showing us like, well, you want to get the body triangle, right? So if he's rolled on and you've got the underarm and your underleg, like you want your bottom leg, right, whichever's touching the mat, to be the fulcrum for the body triangle, and that goes up onto the other hip, and then you can lock it in. Well, immediately I was thinking, well, man, I got short legs. If I'm going against, well, even you, like I'm not locking up a body triangle. I got shorter legs, I got thick thighs. It's just not going to happen. Immediately he was like, and if you can't really lock up the body triangle, put your feet here and here, and then like close your hips. I was like, there, that's it. That's something I wouldn't have thought before. There's an option. There's a way I can execute this sequence that doesn't rely on me doing something that I like physically might not be able to do through no fault of my own. I'm not 6'3", right? I don't have super long legs. My legs are thick, but there it is. Okay, so now when I've been rolling, I have taken the back. I do that. I put my feet there.
Yeah.
It gives me greater control. I'm like, and my feet are safe and from counters and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's great. That's perfect. That's what I needed to know, right? And it just, I think, shows the evolution in that class. Because that's a question I would have asked. Been like, and before I never would have asked that. But I've been like, man, I really can't lock up a body triangle. What the hell do I do? Right? Mm. Like, unless the person is already significantly smaller than me, I just can't do it.
A very small individual, yeah.
At that point, they're so small, I'm like, I'm not too worried about them rolling out.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? So, it is a different shift, I think. In just those minutiae of teaching, along with the, like when I was up in Yellowknife, like I think I talked about the class structure a little bit, where even from where I am now to there, where I am now, much more open to asking questions, right, than I think we were before. We've obviously matured, so there's a little bit of that from us on our side. Now we know a little bit enough to ask a question if we need to. We can figure out some more stuff on our own, so we can really like find those things. We also study a little more than we did. There's more resources to study, but
we did touch on that a bit.
It was even more open, where like the instructor was not remiss if somebody made a good point about whatever you were doing, right? At any belt level, if they said, hey, I do this and that works for me, they're like, that's a good point, right? We would never have done that before. Maybe privately, if we're rolling with a brown belt and they're destroying us and they're like, this works for me, okay. But like during class, during demonstration time, never would happen. Never would have happened.
Silence.
It's just been like a bunch of nods, and then while you're practicing in the move, a bunch of what the hell? Why are you doing that way? That's not right. Do it the way I showed you. Yeah. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, and that's just from like the instructors, like the change from how the instructors approach it now. But like I think like people. I think they're coming around. I think a lot more people are coming around that your instructor doesn't have all the answers. Like the onus is on you, And I think today's like episode is as important as it is with the change of like what's the word I'm looking for? The mindset from the instructors for making it more open. It's more important that the mindset is changing for the students, like us, and regardless of belt. Because like the instructors were like deified and for so long, you expect them to have the answers. So now like as students, it's better, just like a good university student or just a good student in general in school, is that you take the responsibility to do your homework. And what does that mean? It means to look at the instructions that you want and concentrate on one thing, maybe two, but like primarily just one thing.
Guillotines.
And then just guillotine. And then anything front headlock. But anyways,
front headlock, guillotine.
You have to hammer it, right?
Yes,
like obviously people. I'm trying to make that point here. But I know, like unlike in school, you have to concentrate on, like maybe like if you're in high school, you have to concentrate on like 5, 6, 8 subjects, whatever. But in Jiu-Jitsu, you will learn through just rolling. Like your general Jiu-Jitsu skills will get better, but specific skills need to be concentrated on, and how you do that is to study it. You study just one thing, like leg lock system, whatever it can be, like arm saddle, whatever it is. You beat it to death. You go from beginner to intermediate, maybe like high intermediate, and then you're just like, okay, everybody in the gym knows that I'm doing this now. They're defending it, and I need to approach things differently. And then maybe you work on like arm drags to back takes, and you have to create a system all about that, and then you start. That's all you do for a long time, and there's gonna be trial and error. Just like when you do homework and assignments, you do tests, you do well sometimes, you study hard, but you fuck up. You get bad test results. But like I said in the previous episode, like unlike a university degree, you don't have the added stress of spending thousands upon thousands of dollars and like, oh my god, I failed my midterm. Like if you fail your midterm or test or quiz in Jiu-Jitsu, in my case, it's $136 a month, so I'm not too upset, and I get to take the quiz 2, 3, 4, 5 times a week, and then I put myself, and it's the same quiz kind of like all the time. Especially if you're concentrating on just doing 1 or 2 things. These specific 2 guard passes feed into each other, and then so on and so forth. Like this sweep goes into this transition, so on and so forth. And then that's me taking the onus. That's me taking responsibility. That's me saying that I'm going to do my homework, and I'm going to study the things I like, and obviously the things you need to work on. And that's, in my opinion, is the thing that's changed for a lot of people to have that mindset. Like I no longer look at any instructor as like, oh wow, like even John Danaher, I'll listen to him. He can tell me whatever, but I need to do my homework. Like people say, well, like his best students, they think about Jiu-Jitsu all day long. They're at Jiu-Jitsu doing double sessions, triple sessions, Jiu-Jitsu. They know what they're working on. They leave Jiu-Jitsu and they're thinking about Jiu-Jitsu. Maybe they won't talk about Jiu-Jitsu and start a podcast like us. They will definitely think about Jiu-Jitsu. Like they're thinking about the problem at hand that needs to be worked on. And maybe if you never want to be a professional, a semi-pro or amateur, competitive amateur Jiu-Jitsu practitioner, but if you want to quickly, speed run through, Jiu-Jitsu to that black belt, or whatever level you want to, you have to take, the onus is on you. That's why, long story long, what I'm trying to get is like you need to take more initiative. Because now more than ever, like there's no secret techniques now. There's not like back in the day we had to go to someone. There's like a buffet, like too much to eat. of
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu instruction notes. Like, you can drown in it. I know I did. Like how many instruction notes do we have on our BJJ Fanatics account? We have like 10 instruction notes. I think we got through like quarter of like one, a quarter of this one, half of this one, maybe. The John Danaher one is great, but it's like, fucking, he's so monotone.
He's pretty monotone, and he's very detailed. So therefore, just getting through one move is like every single thing is explained, which is both a benefit, but also can be a detriment because it can make it pretty tough to get through. But what I was gonna impart on that as well is, like, as the student mindset has changed because there is so much more information available, and you should seek it out. But one of the things is I was just thinking about when you're talking about that, going back to that school. It's like when you're first entering into jiu-jitsu, right? You're just starting. It's gonna be elementary school to you. Like, you won't understand anything, right? By the time you get to your 4-stripe white or your blue belt, that's when it sort of becomes university. And I think that's what people have been figuring out over the last little while, both the instructors, the coaches, as well as the students. It's like, well, the first little bit is just you getting familiarized with this sport, with the situations you're going to be in. But unlike, school, where it takes you 18 years to be able to now learn the other bits, like to actually be a critical thinker, you get to be that critical thinker a much more you need to become that critical thinker much more quickly, right? Because by the time you have a little bit of skill in any of those areas of jiu-jitsu that exist, right, you're going to have to start thinking critically at a faster pace, right? By the time you're nearing the end of your white belt or you're about to be promoted, that's when you really need to start thinking about jiu-jitsu critically and what you want out of it, and being able to have that conversation with your coach, right? Like you were talking about this. We talk about the front headlock a lot now because and how you love pressure passing, and it's because you had that conversation with your coach. It's like, well, no, this is the way you should fight. You're not fighting anymore in a way that is counterintuitive to you, which I think some people might have gotten trapped in the past, where it's like, well, this is a bottom game school, so I need to learn the bottom game. Well, maybe you're just not. That's not for you, right? So you need to think critically about it. That's a complete supposition. I could be way off on that.
Go play, wait. Okay.
Just take a break. Take a moment.
Oh. That's alright. He's just playing around in the gym.
All right. So
okay. Makes it more real.
So what you do at that point, sorry, there we go. Once you started thinking critically, then you can really start digging into the jiu-jitsu, and I think looking at those tutorials. And also it depends on how often you go, right? If you're going to 2 sessions 5 days a week, you might not need to do many of those tutorials because you're already thinking and practicing so damn much. You're completely buried in it, right? But if you're more like myself, sometimes I go 2 days a week, sometimes I go 3, sometimes I go 4, sometimes I go 1. If I'm sick, maybe I go none. That's when I have to take the onus onto myself to refresh, because the mental part leads to the physical execution, right? So if you're thinking about those moves, like even while we were talking today, I was thinking about this single leg sweep into a straight leg lock into a heel hook, because you were talking about that. I'm like, I'm remembering that sequence now. I should practice that. I should really, next time I'm on them, I should, and they're trying to do a standing pat, I should really practice this, because it's important. It's one of the sweeps I actually like, but I haven't practiced it in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So I should get back to that, right? Like, it's things like that. Oh, shit. I'm distracted.
Yeah, that totally makes sense, because like the less you go, so if you only go like the hobbyist amount during the week, it's like 2 to 3 times. Your time is precious. You don't have the 5 days a week, double sessions, whatever it may be, because you got to work, right? You're not like sacrificing everything to do jiu-jitsu, but you still want to be good. You still want to be, if even if you're not competing, you still want to give the guys who are competing a really hard time, and you want to be great training partners for them. You will almost want to be like them trying to convince you, like how good you want to be is like you want the competitive guys, the competitors on your team to be like, why don't you compete? And you're the excuse the guy, one, you have no desire, or you just don't like. It's not your thing. You're scared. Or, there's nothing wrong with being scared or stuff. It's not for everybody. But you want to be a great training partner. You still want to be that guy. Like, oh, he's that guy. When we roll together, we'll take on Gordon, even though he's not competing. He's going to give me good training. Maybe not like the highest level, but like it's close enough that we can simulate certain things. Maybe Gordon's good at specific things we can use. So you're still a great training partner. So
I think people underestimate the value of good training partners, and I think you do see that at a high level. And at a high level, like you always hear the champs talking about, well, I had this great training partner. They put me in this situation, and I learned from that, and that's how I could do that in the actual fight. And there's nothing wrong with being the great training partner.
Yeah.
Right? And how you get to be the great training partner is to take the onus on yourself to ask the questions when you show up to class, to ask the questions, to practice that, but also outside of, it doesn't have to be extensive. It's not 4 hours of homework a day or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So it's not a university like that, but it's like while you're working, maybe you got a YouTube video on talking about single leg X or something, or even it doesn't even have to be that specific. It can just be people talking about jiu-jitsu, right? So then your mind is thinking it, and you're working through those problems, and then on a subconscious level, it starts to percolate. And that's, to be honest, that's how I kind of got through university. I was not known for late night study sessions, but because it was more of a constant thing. I was never one of those people who could just like sit down and study for 6 hours. Like I just couldn't do it. Right, even through my master's, I like that was not me. People were like, "Yeah, we're gonna do this study session on Saturday. It's gonna be from 8 a.m. till 5," and I'm like, "No. I'll read what I need to read. I'll do what I need to do." And but I think the difference is because while they're studying and they're focusing, like my mind is already working on those things while I'm doing something else. Right, so it's not I'm not actively focused, but you can be thinking of these things while you're working out, while you're doing something else, right? Shoveling snow because we're stuck in snow, right? You can be thinking about these things while doing your mundane task, and it doesn't have to be strenuous. And I think that's something that, if you're capable of doing that, I would highly recommend, because then it doesn't feel like a burden. It's just something you're kind of doing, and I think I don't want to give people the wrong impression of like what we're saying is, well, if you can only be a hobbyist showing up 2-3 sessions a week at school, well, then you got to put in hours and hours of homework to be good. No, I don't think you need to do that. You just need to take the onus on yourself to put in a little extra work, right? Or to figure out a way to, if that's what you want to be, if you want to be the great training partner, right, and give people tough roles in your class, it's kind of what you got to do. You got to put in a little extra work in the off hours that you're not able to show up to the school itself.
Yeah, sure. And touch on that, it's if you don't do that, you're going to get left behind because the quantity isn't there, like in terms of sessions. So you basically have to do more work outside to kind of make up for that deficit. That literal like just being in class and training. Like if there was a person, for example, a practitioner that's like going to class 5 days a week and kind of just mindlessly going to class, and just learning through osmosis and whatever it is, like just going to class, like doesn't do anything outside of it. He's going 5-6 days a week, and you're only going twice. Like he's eventually going to get better than you if you do nothing else. Even though you're super serious, you think about jiu-jitsu, but thinking about jiu-jitsu just because you're obsessed with it, in the sense like, oh man, I gotta be really good. Oh, I gotta think about this one technique. It's not gonna help you. You have to frame it in a way like it's like how you would study properly. Like there's techniques, there's concepts, and you have to train your mind, watch the videos, play in your head, and then look at different approaches to the same technique and kind of take what works for you and then apply it in class. Because when you actually get to class, get to your 2 sessions a week, you're going to have to apply that homework that you did outside.
I think that's the most important part is, like, when you go to those sessions a week, you've been thinking about it, now is the time that you actually have to apply what you've been thinking about, right? And I think some people might get trapped going back to the professorship, whoever's in the prof.
Parenting dudes, yeah.
Yeah, parenting's tough too. It's the same thing. It's 24/7 though.
Mm-hmm.
But whoever's teaching the class, you may get stuck in the move or sequence of the day, right? Because that's what you're going to be learning, right? But it's almost on you at that point, once you start rolling, to be like, no, I'm going to practice the front headlock positions, right? That's why I'm here. That's my intention.
For sure. Oh, yeah, for sure.
So, I'm not sure if there's anything else you want to say about this.
Oh, I guess, what was there? Well, we talked about the change from, like, professors, like, how the onus is, like, change for you now, and, like, for the students and whatnot. I guess that's, like, really it, yeah. There's not too much to, like, talk about after that. Well, I'm sure we can span it on another time. We can, like, collect our thoughts a little bit better. I think that's, like, the general gist of it. You know, going to class, find a school where the prof isn't, like, stuck up, you know, wants to be, and isn't, like, old school. Not so much stuck up, maybe just old school. And that the way the thinking and the approach. And then for you, even if you are stuck at that school, like, you can still do your own thing, you know. Do what your prof wants you to do, like, in terms of technique and how you drill. But when you go to live rolls, just know what you want to do, you know, beforehand, so you don't waste those 5, 6, 7 rolls that you have in that session.
Yeah, that goes back.
It's like, I'm going to do this.
That goes back into what we were doing, saying about intentions and how you progress is through setting your intention and your goal, and like the little wins in each class. And that goes back to this. But I think the major changes we hit, you know, on mindset and learning and then taking, if you're not completely immersed in it, taking that away and if this is something you really want to do, you're gonna have to put a little extra effort in it, or just be satisfied with your progress as you go, right? But we're not here for just the 1 day a week self-defense class. We're here for Jiu-Jitsu. We want to learn, get better, progress.
Yeah. So. Oh yeah, for sure. Like, as quickly as possible. It makes it funner too when you're constantly learning.
Yeah.
And you feel like there's progress rather than
you also feel more confident
randomly.
Yeah, you feel more confident.
For sure. There's kind of like the syllabus, you know, in school. Like, imagine you just show up at class. It's like, okay, we're just going to learn. No guideline whatsoever, but you know, and then it's gonna be an exam. It's gonna be a final exam. You're just like, oh my god.
Yeah.
More daunting that way.
Yeah, you don't want to be the person who shows up to one class in the semester and then take the final, unless you're a genius. But let's be honest.
Those are far and few in between. Yeah, those rules don't really apply to those guys.
Definitely not me.
The idea will be great. You know, those guys will be great in spite of anything. So, like, that they don't count. We're talking to regular mere mortals.
Mere mortals, yeah.
Actually have to apply themselves.
What was that saying? It's like A students are A students in spite of bad teachers, not because of good ones.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Mike Tyson was going to be fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
John Jones was going to be phenomenal. Like, regardless.
In spite of bad teachers. So, yeah.
But they didn't get bad teachers. They had great teachers. So that was the scary part.
If you ever hit the lottery of being extremely talented at something, having great mentors, good teachers, well, that's how you get your name up on the wall pretty quick, and it lasts for a long time.
Yeah.
So
there's some people that like
you have to work hard. I forgot the fourth part. You gotta still work hard.
Work hard. That's the caveat. Like, you're still gonna have to work hard. You know, maybe a little bit less than the next person.
Maybe.
You're still working hard.
You still gotta work hard.
80% of the time, at least. You know.
Yeah.
Even John Jones has training camps. Okay, so.
Yeah. when he puts down the cocaine, he has training camps.
Yeah. Yeah, like that's how it is, you know.
That's life in a nutshell, really.
Yeah. Sure.
Don't chase happiness. Chase something you're good at, and you'll find happiness. On that note.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, on that note, I think that's all there is today.
Yeah. Well, once again, thank you for listening to the Oldhammer Podcast. We appreciate you, and we'll catch you on the next one.